Welcome, my friends. Yes, welcome to another episode of Nintendo Nightcap, bringing you, of course, all the Nintendo news, but all the depressing Nintendo news, because yes, seemingly it's true, the Switch 2 will be delayed until 2025. Possibly later than March. It's all bad. But why has this happened? Is it because of lack of launch titles, or is it something more? We're going to delve into it. Plus, what does this mean for the cranky Kong of Nintendo consoles, the Switch going into its 8th year? We're going to delve into that and what the future might hold for the old console. But before we do, if you like what you see, you like the video, you like the content, why not then consider hitting that like, subscribe, and that bell helps us out, and then sit right there as we do delve into this sad state of affairs. It is the Switch 2 being delayed until 2025. But how has this news come around? Let's take a quick refresher course where we land on the now famous Brazilian journalist Pedro Henrique, who of course let us know on his Twitter account the news that nobody, in his words, nobody wants to hear, that yes, the Switch 2 will be delayed until 2025. And more than this, he cites five sources that he has spoken to that has relayed this information to him. Now, it wasn't long after Pedro Henrique gave us this information that larger publications such as VCG threw their hat into the ring, saying third-party game companies were recently briefed on an internal delay in Nintendo's next-gen launch timing from late 2024 to the early of the following year. And not just that, because Eurogamer said the console's launch moving into early next year, but still within the coming financial year. It's designed to ensure Switch 2's launch lineup features as many titles as possible. Bloomberg also threw its hat into the ring, saying Nintendo is advising game publishers that its next generation console will be delayed until the early months of 2025. So there you go. Many publications, including Eurogamer, are stating Nintendo's need or necessity to bolster up or polish its launch lineup as to the reason why the Switch 2 is now going to be delayed until 2025, March at the earliest. But do we believe it? Is it a software issue, or could it be something to do with the hardware? We're going to get into that in a second. But I do find it quite interesting that the person who leaked this information in the first place, Pedro Henrique, did not cite the software as an issue himself. That, though, him having spoken to 5 different sources. But nonetheless, it still could be true. But let's look at things objectively. Nintendo is not about to release a new console on the back foot. It knows it's imperative to come out the gate swinging. It learned many lessons from the monumental failure that was the Wii U. And if we cast our minds back, they had a clear strategy that was somewhat forced upon them, but they did not release the Switch until they had mounted enough software to support the console almost exclusively by themselves, as it turned out, thanks to little or no support from third parties. Nintendo knew it couldn't count on third parties, who likely found that a proposition too risky after being burnt on the Wii U. So what did Nintendo do? They had a big game ready every 6 weeks or so, applying a steady stream of software from themselves. They started as strong as possible with what would become the game of the year in Breath of the Wild. You couldn't start stronger than that. And then they had Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, followed by Splatoon 2, ARMS, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Mario Odyssey, and more. That is an insane lineup. Now, that was an awesome strategy that did pay off, but it was forced on Nintendo, as I said, by the failure of the Wii U. So how are things different this time? Well, you'd have to think that Nintendo has been planning the Switch 2 in a much more relaxed and comfortable position, thanks to the Switch continuing to dominate world sales, which at the time of recording this hovers over 140 million and well on course to surpass the PS2 at 156 or thereabouts to become the highest selling console of all time. Nintendo then has had plenty of time now that the Switch is going into its 8th year to plan a roadmap for this launch of the Switch 2, and we've heard multiple reports that its in-house team responsible for the 3D Mario games has in fact been sitting on a finished game. And although there has been more reports that they've been working on a Donkey Kong Country game, you'd have to think there's a high probable chance that a launch title for the Switch 2 would in fact be a Mario title. And there's been plenty of reports, as I said, that it has been finished. So that's that game. And then you have to think about the Mario Kart team. What have they been working on? Mario Kart 8 Deluxe also came out in 2017, originally on the Wii U in 2014. And whilst we did receive battle mode and some DLC in the form of some new courses, they have not worked on another game since ARMS, also in 2017. So you'd have to think, is there a high chance that Mario Kart 9 releases maybe as a launch title, or if not, certainly in the first year of the Switch 2? Then there's a curious case of Metroid Prime 4, a game many are claiming is finished or close to, citing information coming out of LinkedIn where we learn Retrohead hired somebody by the name of Edwin Atwill to run quality checks over 10 months ago, and has also partnered with a company named 3D Dreams to construct its debut trailer. So again, this seems like another game being ready for release. Now, will it be on Switch, also will it be on Switch 2? I'd likely think that it would be. So here now we have 3 huge games seemingly at Nintendo's disposal to ensure that their next console gets off to a flying start. But you might be thinking, hold on a second, 1 game or 2 games or 3 games is not enough for a strong start. And to that, I would say the obvious thing to state this time is that there's going to be a monumental difference in the kind of support Nintendo is going to receive from third parties. They are coming off, let's not forget, from what in all likelihood is going to be their biggest selling console of all time. So third parties, I think, are going to be in a much more willing state to risk putting their games on that system. And we got a hint of this at last year's GDC, where 3,000 developers were asked which consoles they were working on, and 8% admitted to be working already on Nintendo's successor to the Switch. Now that number, in all likelihood, is probably even higher because let's not forget there's such a thing as NDAs. And so some developers will probably not want to state that they're working on Nintendo's next console. But then if we looked at developers who were asked which system they were most excited to work on, over 30% stated that they were most excited about working on the Switch 2 or whatever it's going to be called. So this time around, Nintendo doesn't need to rely solely on itself to garner success for the Switch 2 and gain more momentum and sales. And they don't need to worry about producing and releasing high-profile, high-quality games every 6 weeks to 2 months in order to keep the sales of their console ticking. No, because those gaps now will be filled by a healthy stream of games by their third-party partners. Even Microsoft wants to release every game it can on Nintendo consoles to help it out. I joke, but it's true. And of course, we did hear a while ago about Nintendo signing a 10-year deal with Microsoft to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo consoles. So all of this, for me, highlights the fact that Nintendo has a very healthy relationship with third party. It's not going to struggle to get support, and that leads me to question whether this possible delay even has anything to do with software. What if it's hardware? Why do I say that? Well, because we've heard nothing but rumors about what is inside Nintendo's console. We've heard what SoC might be powering it, what specs it has. Will it have the power of a base PS4? Will it be able to power NASA? Will it have a 7-inch screen, an 8-inch screen, OLED, LCD? We have no idea, but one thing we can be certain on is that Nintendo loves to innovate, loves to go crazy on its consoles, and the Switch 2 will be probably no different. In fact, there have been plenty of patterns filed by Nintendo and covered on this show that seem to show Nintendo once again going innovatively crazy with regards to the tech it looks to put inside of its next console. Most recently, we saw another pattern that showed Nintendo possibly going back into the world of VR. Now, as I always said before, VR is a very isolating experience, and Nintendo looks set to try and Nintendo-fy it by having the inclusion of mobile phones in that experience, so maybe getting more people involved. So why do I mention this? It's because when Nintendo releases a new console, it's not just going to have an upgrade of specs. Nintendo is always going to try new ideas, and that takes lots of testing and trial and erroring. So it could be that Nintendo has been trying the head out of its new concept, its new ideas, and maybe needs more times to get the teething process out of the way. That to me is a much more probable factor in this delay than the software. We saw how much trouble Nintendo got into just with the Joy-Cons. Nintendo had been taken to court multiple times with Joy-Con drift, and I'm sure that is something Nintendo is desperate to avoid this time with its next console. And so I can imagine whatever grand ideas it has, whatever innovative ideas it's got, it's going to make sure that these ideas are soundproof and are not going to break down and are not going to cause any issues and are not going to have customers taking their consoles back. But that's what I think about the possible delay of the Switch 2. I'm more leaning on the fact that it might be a factor of hardware, not software, but that's just my opinion. I have no sources to speak of. You guys let me know in the comments below what you think, whether you even believe the delay or you think it's still coming out in 2024. But let's, for the sake of this argument, assume that it will be 2025 when the Switch 2 finally reveals itself. What does that mean for the Switch going forward in 2024 and 2025 maybe? What does that mean for the games lineup? Well, if we listen to other people, namely Cirkin Toto, the Tokyo-based analyst, it's going to look, as he says, a dry affair. I think Nintendo is going to be leaning very heavily on remasters, maybe remakes, and smaller titles. In fact, Necro Felipe, for his part, over on his Twitter page, did say that Nintendo has some more unannounced games, but that they are smaller games. And if we go back to July of 2023 on Jeff Grubb's podcast, he mentioned, I don't know if this is going to give us hope or disbelief, because he did mention that he heard Metroid Prime 2, the remaster, was going to be releasing soonish. Now, as I said, that was in July of 2023. We are in February 2024, and it has not come true yet. So who knows what we believe on that one. He also mentioned that a Zelda title would be releasing, and that it wasn't, of course, Tears of the Kingdom. Nothing came out, but that did lead me to believe now, or at least question, whether Nintendo would finally take this opportunity, if it is true about the Switch 2 being delayed, and finally release the HD remasters of Twilight Princess and the Wind Waker. Surely Nintendo is going to do that, because as it stands of now, all we have is another Peach game, Luigi's Mansion 2, and what is it, Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, and nothing else. Does this mean that maybe Metroid Prime 4 will save the end of the Switch and release in the holidays of 2024? That would be an incredible way to go out. I don't know if it's true. I've always believed it would be a cross-generational game, so I would believe it would come out on the Switch and Switch 2. So we'll have to wait and see on that. We'll probably get another Pokemon game. There are some games I'm looking forward to. Kingdom Come Deliverance is one that I've been very hyped about. But after that, there's very little, you know. Although, let's not forget, Microsoft will probably be releasing more of its games. It's already said it's releasing more games on Switch. It's rumored to be Hi-Fi Rush and maybe Sea of Thieves. That would be awesome. So maybe they come out this year as well and bolster that lineup. You know, it could be dry, but it might be saved. We might have some other games that we don't know about. We'll just have to wait and see. But that's, again, if it's even a delay. But, you know, you guys let me know in the comments below what you think, you know, what you're looking forward to this year, what you think Nintendo needs to release in order to save its 2024. Well, that is the video for today. Quite a long one, but there has been a lot to speculate regarding the delay of the Switch 2 and what that means for the Switch going forward. I've enjoyed it. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. I will be back tomorrow with more Nintendo news. Maybe more Nintendo Switch 2 news. Almost certainly that will be the case. Until then, my good friends, have an awesome night, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Bye.